You're good to go, Ryan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of An Inside Look. Today we're going to be exploring a piece written by our very own Sean Newcomb. It's titled Hidyn Recycled. Start at D. Alright, clearly that is not the normal Hidyn. Something wrong is going on, but you know, that's part of what makes the humor in the third movement of Sean's piece, Hidyn Recycled. The third movement is called Finding Hidyn. And what it does, well, Hidyn Recycled is a recomposition of Haydn's famous Emperor Quartet. And this quartet was written pretty late in Haydn's career. He had made his 2 trips to London. He was very, very much world famous. People were collecting, distributing, really prizing his music. A lot of his professional activities were not based where they had been for the last 30 years, which was in Hungary, in Esterházy, and in Eisenstadt, where he had been working for a very wealthy family as the court composer. So, Sean, would you tell us a little bit about why you've composed the piece, the Hidyn Recycled?
Do you want the real reason or the...
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Well, we were, I believe, exploring... I mean, I've written stuff for us before. We have a lot of projects that are really outside of the box with drums and all that stuff, and we wanted to have... I think we talked about having a project that somehow tied some of the canonized music to some of the new music that we're doing. That was the impetus for this piece, and so I thought, okay, I'm going to go for one of the war horses, one of the really well-known ones, and hopefully not bastardize it too much. And the goal was to figure out the movements, to go inside of the movements as much as I could understand them, and then take the things that I think are there on some level and just either take it to extreme or flip it upside down.
Gotcha. I just sort of enjoy this kind of genre anyway, like a lot. I'm the person who loves to read the book and watch the movie, and I love that they're different. Because it's like, oh, I never thought of that character that way, or oh, that's a cool twist, or it must be like a comic book thing to take the same characters through several different plots, and it doesn't bother me that things are different. I love it. And there's plenty of composers. There's the Vivaldi Four Seasons that's been recomposed. I forget the composer.
Piazzolla.
Quite a few times. Piazzolla and
Richter and
what's the more recent one? Richter. Yeah, that's right.
It's the Richter one that I really love, because it's just sort of this daydream over like the normal, usual material. And just looking at things from different facets is just totally fascinating to me. So for the non-scholars, typically a string quartet will start with an opening movement that's a little up-tempo. The second movement will be slower. The third movement will be a dance, something in 3/4 time, meaning 3 beats per measure. At this time period is usually a minuet, and then the last movement will be fast, fairly simple, and exciting. And there's kind of like a synthesis of ideas going along here. Normally in this period, it's a minuet that's put there, and a minuet is a slow, stately, very highly ornamented, very etiquette-laden dance. But beginning kind of with Beethoven, the composer starts substituting in scherzi and scherzos. And the word scherz, it means it's a joke. It means it's lighthearted. Maybe it's actually funny, or maybe it's just just not serious. So Sean, I was wondering, we've taken Haydn's minuet. Haydn wrote a minuet, but you've turned it sort of into a scherzo, and I'm kind of wondering why. What's the background behind that?
Well, let me answer your question
With a
the
question? Okay, all right.
For all of you, I'm curious, what is the first time that you remember being aware of humor in music?
Oh boy. Okay. I had something for this.
I don't know if this is the first time, but it's what's coming to mind is that typewriter piece.
Leroy Anderson?
The Anderson. How's it going?
Yes, yeah. That's yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Why was it funny to you?
Well, I think it's simultaneously turning this typewriter, which I mean, the last thing I think of is musical instrument, and creating it as like the solo for like in front of a bunch of violins and everything that we're normally used to. And then the ding is just so silly and just it keeps coming back. It's creating an instrument out of something that's really unexpected, and the sounds that come out of it are kind of amusing in and of itself.
There's also kind of a shtick to it usually when I've seen the piece played. The typist, the percussionist pretends to tune the typewriter, or like there'll be like a little back and forth with the conductor, like stuff like that's like extra stuff that's like they're jokes, but it's not part of the music. It's just like part of coming in on the stage and all that.
I have kind of an odd one. I don't think it's a joke, but I remember hearing something when I was a kid and thinking it was maybe a joke, and it was because I had just learned that if anybody watching out there has ever heard of something called the viola joke, it's something that I learned when I was in middle school, didn't know it was a thing, and then I heard the Mendelssohn Octet, and there's a part in the Mendelssohn Octet where there's solos being passed around, and I don't remember exactly, but there's a viola part where it like stops in the middle, and then it keeps going. And I remember thinking, I wonder if that was a viola joke.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
It seems really odd, but that's the first time I can think of something like that.
My piano teacher, Linda Pearson, sent me home with an LP, and on it had a pianist with two left hands. And Dad played me some of the tracks. And that's the first time I was aware of the shtick element of humor. But what I always loved about Haydn or Mozart or some of these others is that it's a humor that to me is not shtick. It is a humor that is about conversation or about setting up expectation and then doing something completely opposite or going further than you thought. And that is the joking humor that I think of when I think of Haydn, and I wanted to explore that more in this movement. This idea that it's not shtick, but how far can you go to where just the music that's being played, just doing what's on the page, is in it of itself funny?
Exactly. I guess to sort of lay the groundwork, I'd heard this on the radio, so I looked up some of the articles. What is the scientific basis, or like the biological basis for humor? And the neatest definition that I could find is, it's what happens in your brain when you see that a normal thing is being breached, like there's a norm that's being breached, and at the same time you realize that it's harmless. So then your brain laughs. And that's a way of like telling other creatures that like, yeah, something weird's going on, but it's okay. And like this whole thing of like a viola joke or something going too far, or an instrument that doesn't belong is basically something weird, but it's okay. So I think really before we dive into Finding Hidyn, which is the title of Sean's movement, we should just get familiar a little bit with the original, and that will just be quite a bit easier to like understand what's happening in the music that isn't shtick, that isn't on top of it. We just play like the first phrase, like up to the first double bar, the original Hidyn. parts. Aviva, would you mind just playing the first 4 bars? Lovely. This is what is commonly known as a melody. And could we just do? Is this all right for the mic?
Yeah, it should be
Just go
fine.
back and
Yep.
forth quick. Okay. Let's just do the first 4 bars ourselves. Okay, so that would be the accompaniment after that. Those are basically the first 2 events that are happening. The next thing that kind of happens in the music is a canon, which, you know, for, again, people without glasses to push up, would be like the row, row, row your boat, you start row, and somebody else. Aviva, would you mind playing, pick up to bar 5? Great, now the neat thing about that is 1 bar later, Sean, would you play the pick up to bar 6? It's like the exact same thing, but it happens immediately after a bar and it gets stacked on top of each other. Then the music grows and grows and grows and swells, and then could we all start at measure 11 in the original? Maybe stop when you get down to the bottom of the ornaments. This is going to be, you know, the low D, but nobody else.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I meant nobody else play. This is just a highlight of Eva's
Oh.
part. Oh gosh, notes are too small. So basically the idea is Aviva has this ornamented arpeggio, yep, and then I take it, and then the phrase closes. So that's basically the material that we're working with, and that is going to show up a lot in Sean's piece. But now the question is any of this funny? And I'm kind of wondering what you guys think, because I don't know that we've necessarily talked about it.
I can say that for me, it depends a lot on how you play it. The two of you play the part. So sometimes no, sometimes yes. If I'm just picking what I just heard, since it wasn't the whole group, I thought Aviva's was a little more stately, and then yours was a little bit more like jabby, which makes me think kind of funny, or you know,
Because it's mismatched,
Yeah,
or
or
something like that. Aviva, I've got to put you on the spot.
Oh. Yeah, I would say maybe there are slightly more awkward elements than what I would normally think of for a minuet. But in general, I would not characterize any of it as funny.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't think it's funny.
It's Hidyn has a track record of being funny and of like pulling musical pranks, but is it so much? But then, you know, to explore further a little bit what Jason was saying, why don't we play a version that's even more elegant and sweet than we normally do? Let's just give that a shot. Maybe everybody, but through to the first level bar.
this is the beginning.
Yeah.
So this is more elegant, more sweet
More elegant, more sweet.
than what we normally would do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But just, well, elegant and beauty is the thing.
Sure,
is
sure.
the thing. Okay, and now, just for giggles, let's do it again, but let's kind of like make it funny. And
Okay.
meaning like, okay, so Aviva, like for your first melody, be da da dee ha hee ha he. It could be like a donkey is trying to dance a minuet. I mean, that's like a little 2-storybook, but something like that. On our accompaniments, we have staccatissimo markings. Let's play them really as short as possible.
Okay.
Sean, for your canon, would you mind, instead of joining what Aviva's doing, just enter as though, oh yeah, here's the melody, but
I'm very good at doing that.
you didn't notice that she was already playing the melody. And then, I don't know, for the I'm thinking like a sea lion at the circus, like, like that kind of thing, and I'll kind of do the same. And then at the end, we've just got to dust ourselves off. Oh, nothing happened. Nothing to see here. well, certainly sitting here, the sounds are way different, and at least maybe that's the point, is that these kinds of things, who cares necessarily what your own private experience is listening to it, but it changes the sound,
Yeah, quite a bit.
basically, on how we're thinking these things. I know that look, you've something to say.
Well, it's funny. It's a lot of what I wouldn't expect. The thing to me that was the funniest element of that version is actually the last two bars.
I was gonna say the
And
because
it's-
it's like, oh wait, no.
If it goes back to what I was kind of alluding to earlier, and I know where we're headed with this, it's that the way we just played it, the first 12 or 14 or 16 bars now are all kind of a similar thing. They're all of a similar
Yeah.
cloth, if you will, even though there's variation in there. And then the ending, it's the only two things, like so off-centered. And also, to tie together where we're going, basically all we did was play more with dynamics. We brought up the first part loud, fortissimo even, and we ended piano or pianissimo, increased the range, which to me is interesting because that's something that could be written on the page, yet what I have written on my page for everything we just played is literally nothing except for the notes, not even a dynamic.
Yeah, I don't have a dynamic
I
either.
have a
Well,
funky-
articulations.
Or
A lot of
articulation.
changes in articulations.
I
also.
sprung it on you. I could imagine some playing with the timing for some, to add a little bit to it, but I surprised you.
Yes,
That's
yes.
a little exercise. Okay, so we should definitely move on now to the main thing, which is Sean's composition, Finding Hidyn. Okay, well, let's play like the first 40 bars, like all the way to C, and
Okay.
then we can dive in and figure out what's going on. Okay, this is much different than the original, and like you said, Sean, there's just a lot that's going on with the notes that is strange, and those are the things that are kind of pinging my brain because it is nice, but then something is a little bit off, and it's just so fun to think about those kinds of things.
Yeah, and I realize that it can definitely come off as shtick, and that's trying to do that. But if you look at our parts in comparison to the original, there's tons of markings. We're really playing what is on. Like at B, I have fortissimo dots and then written heavy and gross. Like that's what's in the part. This is, to me, what, in my head at least, makes it more, this is what's happening on the page.
What I really want to do is be able to dive into someone's head who's listening to this for the first time.
Oh.
And someone who has a great knowledge of the source material and someone who has basically zero knowledge of the source material, and to be to be able to compare those experiences. Although, we have comments, so hoping that we can hear from the comments. So, gosh, what's going on at the beginning? Aviva, would you play the two different starts, the original start and the start that you've got? Lovely, wonderful. Okay, so what's going on there, Aviva? Clearly, something is different.
Yeah, the rhythm is the same, but the notes really aren't.
Okay, so basically you might say that you've just started in the wrong key. And so then we have a gentle answer. Okay, that's lovely. But then you try again, and then we have a more emphatic answer, and then it's like tentatively you try again, and then it's like, phew,
Yeah,
Here
and
we
I,
are.
I would add that each attempt is slightly closer to the correct key.
Okay.
Yeah.
My last attempt is in fact in the right key. I'm just really not sure.
Let's give it.
Lost all
a go.
confidence.
Let's play bars 1 through 10. Okay, so I'm curious, Aviva, when you're playing this, are you thinking of anything in particular? How are you deciding to play all of the notes?
Sure. Well, it depends. It's actually a little bit different if we play the previous movement. But
Oh.
when I play this beginning just on its own, I'm thinking, oh yes, I'm going to begin this melody. And as soon as I hear the accompaniment, I am like, something is wrong. And then usually my reactions are less and less sure. And by the third one, I really have no
So
clue.
do you re-go through that every time you play the piece, even though you know how it's supposed to go?
Kind of,
Okay,
in the sense
cool.
that maybe like an actor would go through
Ah.
the emotions of their character.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, okay, so we've had the nice start. Then let's go 11 through 17. Okay, so that's nice. It's another aborted start, then a record scratch. Okay, terrible. Then we continue on. There's some rhythmic glitches that are not going on. And then we can get to 25, where I'll just call it the C line. Blah, 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 blah. It tries to start, and it fails. It just completely fails. And then when we try again, then it succeeds. It succeeds a little too well. Could we do like 25 straight on the downbeat, all
Yep.
the way to C? Okay. The shticks just keep coming. It's so dense. It's so fast. When you succeed, blah 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 blah, then of course, just like in the original, I play them again. But now, because I know that Sean is going to come in like Animal from the Muppets and just take things way too far, I actually softball mine to give you somewhere to go, so that we can get totally crazy, end with the huge chord, try again. It's the wrong resolution. We have to try again, get it right, and then keep going. So I'm wondering, Sean, when you were writing this, did you have a story in your head, or one might say a premise of like what is going on, or is this just a purely musical experience?
I mean, yes, yes, and yes.
Oh dear.
The story
Okay.
is purely the notes, though. Like, for me, in terms of how I think of music, there is a narrative. It just happens to not be with words. Probably the easiest way to say it is it's conversation. At the start, all right, let's start, guys. The three of us. Actually, hey, Aviva, it's actually here. Oh, like this? No, actually, it's here. She starts in C major. Oh, the pits. There we go. All right, we got it. It's this conversation. The other thing that I was trying to do with it in terms of that is, do you guys know the show 30 Rock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The number of jokes that they have in there per episode is amazing. I think I read it's something like a joke every 7 seconds, which is crazy. But what I like about that is it becomes so frequent that you stop necessarily becoming aware of each individual joke, and you just view it from a step back in terms of just a general set state of humor, or it changes the environment. That's more of what I was trying to do with this, that there are so many things happening that you don't necessarily pay attention to any one of the things. It's just we're in a slightly different, maybe Dali world instead of the real world.
Got it.
You know what this reminds me of? This, especially like these first parts. It reminds me of I think it was the first video we ever did
Oh,
for
they
Christmas
share
called
the same title. It's called
Finding We Wish You a Merry
Finding We Wish
Christmas,
You- yeah.
which
Yeah.
stemmed from a joke from when we were kids.
Yes.
Right? So it's like this joke leads to this joke leads to this joke, and it reminds because of what it reminds me of is we just got together and it's like looking at each other trying to figure out what's going on, and it kind of feels like it's that just like expanded.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's also called ripping yourself off.
Well, to go with the to get the sensation of watching 30 Rock, why don't we play the trio, the original trio?
The original trio.
Just so that everybody who doesn't know the trio can get used to it. Personally, I don't think there's anything funny
No.
in the original Hidyn trio. It just is beautiful. And then let's play your trio and let everybody get immersed in those jokes every second.
Repeats?
Yes, let's do it.
So this is the original Hidyn trio.
F to I. Yeah, it's so neat to hear them back to back like that. It brings out for me again the stuff that, of course, I'm used to because we've had this it's been longer than a year
Yeah.
that it's been in our rep. We've toured with it, we've played a lot, and it's a little strange sometimes when we go back to the original and go, oh no, I'm not. I do that in Hide and Recycle. I'm not supposed to do that. The two
Yes.
versions get commingled.
Yes.
And it's rare that we have the opportunity to play them back to back. It highlights everything.
Also, I love that little callback to Pizzicato
Oh, yes.
to the beginning, which I always think of as like the nod, like, yes, you're finally in the right key.
Okay.
I have to confess something.
Uh-huh.
There's a reason why. For anyone who doesn't know, when we played the original trio, we did not take the second repeat. But that's a fairly long trio. There's a reason this one is so short. And that's because when I was studying the piece and really getting to know it, I was not the biggest fan of the trio.
I noticed you
Oh,
skipped all the
really?
repeats.
So
in your
I went through it as quick as I
recomposition.
could, and I was like, anyway, I feel a little bad for that. But that's why the trio is so short in this version, not because of some artistic thing of nope. I just didn't want to have to deal with it anymore, and so we just
Oh
went
no!
through it.
Oh no! Okay, sorry, Hidyn. Although he probably wrote it really fast
Oh, yeah.
as well.
He was
It's sort of the requirements of the job. Okay, well, I think that we should end
Yeah.
with a playthrough of the complete Finding Hidyn.
Great. Before we do that, thanks for being with us. If you're with us right here live, or if you're watching this after the fact, we're doing these weekly shows as part of basically a way to stay active and relevant and try to produce content that hopefully is entertaining. If you like it, tell your friends about it. It's every Sunday. Next Sunday, we're doing it on the Schubert Cello Quintet, the second movement, the beautiful movement. And it'll be on YouTube and Facebook like this. And be sure to check out some of other stuff, or like us, or follow us on YouTube. I hate saying like us. It feels so like,
I don't know.
do you like me? But hope you like
But
me.
like
Well,
Okay, sorry, I had to get that in.
Good.
Hidyn Recycled, the third movement, Finding Hidyn.